In this tutorial, I showcase how to transfer data between the SOP and CHOP context, load the CHOP data into Python, and back to SOP. This is mainly a warm-up for my upcoming tutorial, where I showcase how to train and use a neural network that is able to predict the behavior of a sine wave. And as training, we will create and manipulate sine waves across all the different contexts. I will start slow with some Vex example, where I generate some point that follows sine wave along the y-axis, and load the y-coordinate into CHOP. If we want only one point, we can use the add node to create it, and use a quick hscript expression to move it along the y-axis. If we have multiple points, we can use a point wrangle to pick a frequency and an offset different for each point. If we want to create a lot of points, we can use the detail wrangle, where we call the addPoint function inside the for loop, where the stop condition is the parameter. Also, the second parameter of the addPoint function can be used to define the position of the new point. In our case, I will just offset them a little along the x-axis. Regarding the offset, the sine function is 2 times pi periodic. So if we fit the ptinum between 0 and 2 times pi, we ensure that the offset will use the full period of the sine wave in an uniform manner. If you intend to use this setup for machine learning purposes, I recommend adding a parameter that will give you a unique dataset at each value, and also making the dataset less predictable. Now that we have points going up and down, we can use the CHOP context to load their motion across the entire frame range into one node. I will start by loading the first example, where we have only one point. By default, the geometry node is in static mode, so it just takes the current value of the P attribute and puts it in 3 different channels. By switching to the animated mode, the node now imports the value of P across the entire frame range, losing the time dependency, and also displaying our sine wave. When we import the example with 2 points, we get 2 channels, 2 sine wave, with different offset. Same story if we have multiple points. If the motion viewer gets too busy, I recommend scoping only one node and using the equal sign to display only one channel. The last thing I want to mention is the channel range parameter, which can be used in start and modes to specify manually the start and end range that we want to import. Those two parameters are in seconds, so if you want to import frame 1 to 30, we want to use 30 divided by the frame rate as our end parameter. This way we built a collection of channels, which can be seen as a collection of lists, where each list is a different point, and each index of that list is a different value of P at a different frame. We will now do some quick example on how to access CHOP data from Python. Just like the SOP context, we can access any node in a CHOP context using the relative path. The node Geo1 inside the CHOP network has only one track. We can access it using its name, and convert it into an NP array. As you can see, we obtain one vector of size 240, which matches the frame range of the channel. The CHOP variable itself can be used to inspect the number of channels, and also the frame range of the CHOP node. When we have those values, I will recommend creating a matrix that has as many rows as their channels, and as many columns as the frame range length. And then we will fill it by iterating on each tracks, and copying the channel into each row of the matrix. This way we have a system that scales with the number of tracks and frame range automatically. To complete this tutorial, I will also do a quick demonstration on how to load the data back to SOP by overwriting the @p.y attribute. To do that, I will create 2 points and load the data from the Geo2 node inside the CHOP network. After that, we iterate upon each point to load the current P attribute. The post variable is now an array of size 3, for each coordinate, x, y, and z. We can overwrite the value in index 1, which will be the y coordinate, and write it down as attribute. We use a row of the matrix that matches the ptinum, and the index that matches the frame. In our case, I should have used frame -1, because the index starts at 0 and the frame in Houdini starts at 1. With all of that in mind, we can move on to an example of using that knowledge. In my next tutorial, we will train and use a neural network that is able to predict the motion of the sine wave using the 29 first samples.